Hey everyone, welcome back. Are you ready to dive into some seriously useful stuff for boosting your English conversation skills?
I know I am.
Okay, so today we're taking a deep dive into this really cool resource called 75 Audio Lessons Daily English Conversation
Oh,
Practice.
yeah, I've heard of this.
Have you?
Right?
Yeah, so it's basically like having a cheat sheet for navigating all sorts of everyday conversations.
Sounds pretty handy.
Right. So think about it this way. Instead of getting bogged down with textbook grammar rules, you're jumping right into real world scenarios and you're learning by doing.
That's a much better way to learn a language. It's all about actually using it, right?
Exactly. So we're talking 75 different topics here, and each one's broken down into these natural sounding question and answer
I
conversations.
like that. It's like you're eavesdropping on a real conversation, picking up those authentic phrases and expressions.
You got it. And that's a key part of this whole approach. It's based on what they call deep learning, which is basically a fancy way of saying the more you immerse yourself in these conversations, the more you'll internalize the language.
Makes sense. It's kind of like learning a song. You don't just listen to it once, right? You put it on repeat until it's stuck in your head.
Yes, exactly. And just like that catchy tune you can't get out of your head, these phrases and responses will become second nature. And you'll be surprised how easily you'll start using them in your own conversations.
Like muscle memory for your mouth.
Aha, yeah. Sort of. Okay, but speaking of real life situations, remember that time I completely blanked on the word for milk when I was trying to order a latte in Italy?
Oh, I've been there. It's worse.
It is. If only I had practiced those phrases beforehand.
That's where this audio format is so brilliant. You can literally practice these conversations anywhere, anytime. On the bus, at the gym, even waiting in line for your latte.
Right. It's all about weaving those English practice sessions into your day, little by little.
Exactly. So you don't feel overwhelmed.
Okay, so we've talked about the format a bit, but let's dive into those 75 topics because they really do cover a lot of ground. I mean, we've got everything from restaurants and travel to hobbies, technology, even current events.
Pretty impressive range.
It is. And what I love is that instead of trying to memorize every word in the dictionary, this resource focuses on those high-frequency words and sentence structures that you'll actually use in everyday situations.
Yeah, that's key. It's all about efficiency, giving you the tools to communicate effectively without getting bogged down in the nitty-gritty.
Exactly. So it's like getting a fast track to fluency by focusing on what you'll actually need to know. Okay, so I'm looking at this list, and we've got restaurants, travel, hobbies. I'm already imagining myself confidently chatting with locals in a foreign country or discussing my favorite book in English.
It's amazing how a few well-practiced phrases can boost your confidence.
Right. And what I also find really helpful is that the source actually points out common mistakes that people make in these situations. Like when ordering coffee, you might accidentally confuse sizes or milk types, those little things that can trip you up.
Oh yeah, those can be embarrassing.
Totally. But this resource gives you the exact phrases to use so you can avoid those awkward moments.
It's like having a safety net, making sure you feel comfortable and confident in any situation.
Exactly. But it's not just about avoiding blunders. It's also about sounding more natural and like you really own the language.
It's that next level, right?
Yeah.
Moving beyond those basic phrases and being able to express yourself more fully.
Yeah, it's like going from tourist level English to being able to have a deeper conversation, a real conversation about something you're passionate about.
It's a big step, and this resource seems to provide a great path for making that happen.
Totally. It's not just about surviving in a foreign country. It's about really thriving in an English-speaking environment. Okay, but before we jump into some specific examples of those 75 topics, I think it's worth unpacking this deep learning concept a bit more, because you mentioned it plays a huge role in how this resource works.
It's actually pretty fascinating stuff. It's all about leveraging the power of repetition, but in a strategic way. So instead of just mindlessly repeating phrases over and over again, the source incorporates this idea called spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition. Yeah.
Okay, and this means you're revisiting those phrases and conversations at increasingly longer intervals, which helps to really embed them in your long-term memory.
So it's not just about cramming, there's an actual science behind it.
Right. It's designed to work with how our brains naturally learn best.
It's like building muscle memory, but for your brain.
I like that, a mental workout for your language skills. And that spaced repetition approach is so effective because it prevents you from just cramming and forgetting, and instead you're gradually reinforcing those skills over time.
So it's like building a solid foundation for fluency through consistent and intelligent practice.
Exactly. And don't forget, it's not just about passively listening. The source encourages you to actively engage with the material, to speak out loud, to practice those responses, to really immerse yourself in the flow of the conversations.
Yeah, it's like having a conversation partner right there in your pocket, pushing you to get involved. Okay, so are you ready to dive into some of these 75 topics and see how it all comes together?
Absolutely. Let's unpack some of these scenarios and see what kind of language learning gems we can uncover. Okay, so let's start by picturing ourselves in, oh, I don't know, a bustling Parisian cafe.
Ooh, Paris. I'm there.
Right, so you're craving a croissant and a café au lait, that classic Parisian breakfast.
Sounds perfect, but I have to admit, ordering in a foreign language, even something simple, can be a little intimidating.
Oh, I totally get it. But that's where this resource really shines because it doesn't just teach you how to say, like, can I see the menu, please?
Mm.
It goes deeper than that.
Oh.
Well, it dives into those subtle nuances that can really trip you up. Those little details that can make a big difference.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, imagine you want to order a coffee with milk,
Yeah.
but you accidentally use the word for cream instead.
Oh, no. Yeah, that could lead to a very different drink.
Exactly. And those are the kinds of mistakes that this source helps you avoid. It gives you the exact phrases to use so your order is exactly what you're craving.
Okay, that's a relief. I can definitely see myself making those kinds of mistakes, especially in a new environment. It's those little things that can really throw you off. But it's not just about fancy cafes in Paris, right? I mean, this source tackles everyday situations too.
Oh, absolutely. Think about just grabbing a quick lunch or ordering takeout. It covers all those scenarios with questions like, what kind of toppings do you have? Or can I get that to go? But, the
It's
basic.
stuff we use all the time. I like that.
Right. And you'll be amazed at how quickly you'll master those everyday interactions.
So even if I'm not jet setting off to Europe anytime soon, I can still level up my English skills by practicing how to order my morning coffee like a pro. Okay, but let's switch gears for a second because there's another section in here that I'm really curious about, the hobbies section.
Oh, yeah. That's a fun one.
I know a lot of people, myself included, sometimes struggle to talk about their interests in English, beyond just saying, I like to.
It can be tricky, but the hobby section is great because it gives you the vocabulary and sentence structures to effortlessly chat about anything from photography to painting, playing sports, or even collecting vintage stamps.
Wow, so it covers a lot of ground.
It does. You'll learn how to answer questions like, what are your hobbies? Or how long you've been doing that in a way that sounds natural and engaging. It's about having a real conversation, not just giving those one-word answers.
Right, right. And it helps you express that passion, maybe even find some common ground with the person you're talking to.
Exactly. And this is where that deep learning we were talking about earlier comes in handy. By practicing these dialogues, you'll internalize those key phrases and you'll be able to effortlessly weave them into your own conversations.
It's like training your brain to think in English when it comes to your hobbies.
Exactly.
Okay, now I'm picturing myself at a party confidently chatting about my latest photography project or my new love for pottery. It's amazing how a few well-practiced phrases can completely transform your ability to connect with people. But, it's not just about hobbies either, is it?
Nope, not at all. This resource tackles a bunch of topics that can be a little intimidating at first.
Like what?
Well, imagine being able to discuss your thoughts on a piece of art, or share your opinion on a current event, and doing it all in fluent English.
That would definitely boost my confidence.
Right, and that's what I like about this approach. It helps you gradually build up to those more complex conversations.
But I'm also thinking about something else. Even if I'm not traveling or at a party, I can still practice these dialogues at home, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the biggest advantages. You can practice with a friend, a language partner, or even just yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, no excuses.
Exactly. The key is consistency. Finding those creative ways to integrate these conversations into your daily routine. Make it a habit.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about restaurants and hobbies, but there's one topic that I'm particularly intrigued by, the travel section.
Ah, yes, travel. That's a big one.
It is, especially since, well, we all love to travel, right? And then it's something we touched on earlier. So what kind of goodies await us in the travel section?
Well, get ready to embark on a linguistic journey because this section is packed with essential phrases and vocabulary for navigating airports, asking for directions, booking accommodations, and even, wait for it, haggling for souvenirs.
Whoa, haggling. No, that's something I'm not very good at.
Yeah, it can be tricky. But this source teaches you those culturally sensitive phrases that will help you get a good deal without, causing any awkwardness.
Okay, that's good to know because I'm always worried about offending someone when I try to negotiate prices.
I hear you. But They cover all that stuff here. You'll learn how to ask, how much does this cost? Or can you give me a better price? In a way that's respectful, but still effective.
That's so helpful. I can already see myself confidently navigating those bustling markets, finding those hidden gems, and, maybe even impressing the locals with my awesome bargaining skills.
Uh-huh, exactly. And beyond the practicalities of shopping and getting around, the travel section also prepares you for those cool cultural exchanges that you're bound to have.
Oh, yeah, those are the best part of traveling.
Right, so you'll learn how to answer questions like, where are you from? Or what are you planning to see here? In a way that sparks conversations and, helps you connect with people.
It's like taking those interactions beyond just, the basic transactional stuff and turning them into something more meaningful.
Exactly. And it's funny because I'm realizing that this source isn't just for people who are actually traveling. It could be just as valuable for anyone who wants to connect with people from different cultures, even right here at home.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah, so whether you're chatting with a new neighbor from another country, connecting with colleagues from different backgrounds, or just, expanding your cultural horizons through conversations, this source gives you the tools to do that.
I love that. It's like having a passport to a world of cultural exchange right there in your pocket. But, what I'm finding so impressive about this resource is that it takes these complex language concepts and breaks them down into these manageable bite-sized pieces.
It makes it so much less intimidating.
It really does. And I think that's what makes it so effective. It's not about memorizing grammar rules until your head spins. It's about giving you those practical tools that you can use immediately in real-life situations.
That's what makes it so empowering. It's about shifting that mindset from I'm learning English to I'm using English.
Oh, I love that shift. It's about embracing the journey and seeing language learning as a doorway to all sorts of possibilities.
Exactly. And speaking of possibilities, I think it's time we delve into one of the most powerful aspects of this resource, and that's how it leverages repetition to really unlock that fluency we've been talking about.
All right, listeners, get ready because we're about to uncover how repetition, when done the right way, can transform your English conversation skills. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. So we're talking about repetition, that secret weapon for mastering English conversation. But I get the feeling it's not just about mindlessly repeating things over and over again,
You
right?
got it. It's all about strategic repetition, and that's where this idea of deep learning comes in.
Yeah.
Have you ever, learned a new dance move? At first, it's all awkward and you're not sure what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
But with practice, those steps get ingrained in your muscle memory. You don't even think about it anymore. You just move.
So are we talking about reaching that same level of fluency with English, where those phrases and responses just roll off the tongue naturally?
Exactly. And this resource is really smart about how it makes that happen. It's not just about hearing those conversations once and crossing your fingers.
You have to really dig in.
Yeah, it's about actively engaging with the material, repeating those key phrases and dialogues until they become a part of you, like second nature.
I like that. So it's kind of like building those conversational muscles through a targeted workout routine.
Yes. And just like any workout, consistency is key.
Got it. So even if I can only squeeze in a few minutes each day.
It all adds up. Think
Yeah.
about it. You could be brushing your teeth while practicing how to order your favorite coffee, or walking the dog while rehearsing phrases for asking directions.
Haha, love it. Turning those everyday moments into little language learning sessions.
Exactly. It takes the pressure off.
Right. It's not about finding huge chunks of time to study. It's about fitting it into your life.
And that's the beauty of this audio format. You can literally take it anywhere. It's like having a personal English coach in your pocket, always there to guide you.
Okay, I'm definitely sold on the power of repetition now. But are there any specific techniques that this resource recommends for really making the most of those practice sessions?
Oh, for sure. They really encourage you to get creative and experiment with different approaches. Like you might start by just listening passively, letting those sounds and rhythms sink in.
Okay, that sounds relaxing.
Right. But then you can gradually transition to actively shadowing the speaker, repeating the phrases out loud, paying attention to how they pronounce things, the intonation, all that.
So it's like going from passively absorbing to actively participating. And I imagine as you get more comfortable, you can even start improvising a bit, trying out different ways of saying things.
Exactly. And they also suggest recording yourself and comparing it to the native speaker's audio.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's like having instant feedback on how you're doing.
And you can really pinpoint those areas where you might need a little extra work, right?
Right. Don't underestimate the power of that self-assessment either. It can be really motivating to hear how much you've improved over time.
I like that. It's like those before and after photos, but for your English speaking.
Exactly. Okay, so I think we've covered how repetition combined with this resource can really take your English to the next level. But I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier, that whole idea of connection.
Yeah, how language helps us connect with people, bridge cultures. I think that's so important.
It is. And this resource does a fantastic job of building those foundational skills.
Mhm.
But the real magic happens when you use those skills to interact with the world around you.
So it's not just about practicing on your own, it's about taking it out into the real world, chatting with people, having real conversations.
Exactly. Whether it's with a neighbor or making new friends in a different city or even giving a presentation at work,
I can see how that would really boost your confidence.
it does. Think of all the possibilities that open up when you can confidently express yourself in English, sharing your ideas, connecting with people from all over.
It really is like unlocking a whole new level of communication and understanding.
It is, and that's what makes this whole journey so enriching.
It's about so much more than just memorizing words. It's about broadening your horizons and experiencing the world in a new way.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
So, to everyone listening, we really encourage you to take the plunge, embrace the power of repetition, and start unlocking those English conversation skills you've always wanted. Remember, fluency isn't about reaching a destination, it's about enjoying the journey.
And with the right tools and a little bit of effort, you can achieve amazing things.
Who knows, maybe one day you'll find yourself confidently ordering that cafe au lait in a Parisian cafe, sharing your photography with a new friend, or even delivering that awesome presentation at work, all thanks to this amazing resource.
And the power of practice.
So, what are you waiting for? Dive in and start your English conversation adventure today. Until next time, happy learning, everyone!